The Master and the Apprentice. The Master being Artemis, and the Apprentice a young Celeste. Prior to when our story first began, even months before, they ventured off to Baham for the first time together. This scene depicts the two on a scouting mission on the homeworld of Alea, who, in this story, is where all the Olympians reside, their subjects, and the remaining Titans and their children. I've said this before, but there are like several classes of Olympians, one of which being the Godlings, essentially demigods, but it's more of a different terminology for it. I actually have a compendium with all these terms and stuff that I've made up so far, so I'm going to read over the Godling section. The children of the gods and goddesses are referred to as Godlings, denoting them to a lesser status than their parents despite how well they fend for themselves. The term is rarely used outside of Alea, as the Olympians view themselves as more divine than those other races. It's mostly used to keep their children in check in a competition with one another. The Godlings are ranked in order of feats and lineage. Whether they're pure-blooded or not does not matter to Zeus, as he has the final say. Olympian Godlings are bred for battle and war from an early age. If they can swing a sword, they can fight. The higher-ranked Godlings hold a seat at the main table with the first generation. Seat changes are rare, but they do happen. In what is commonly referred to as the Eovis era, Dionysus replaced Hestia twice. Eris took Athena's seat after the Anunnaki occupation, and Psyche took Artemis' place after she was exiled off Alea. The higher Godlings in this era consisted of Hermes, Heracles, Athena, Ares, Artemis, once upon a time, Apollo, and Dionysus. In the tail end of the Eovis era, the Minos' daughter, Cora, joined the ranks as the 13th and final member of the council before the Elean cleanse. And below them, the Titans, or the children of the Titans, served the Godlings, more or less, as like accompanying companions or wards to the state, as Titans are seen as like second-class citizens, essentially what Celeste and Helios were. And going over the next section, the Titans, the race that preceded the Olympians in the Chronoid era, was named after Kronos, the king before Zeus usurped him. In this era, Lady Alea, she still had a physical form, and the celestial mass that would later become the underworld still retained its luster. The Titans were gargantuan beings. Only some could modify their stature at will. For a time, they remained a peaceful bunch until the first contact with the Progenial, who introduced them to the seven disciplines of magic, of aether, and spaceflight technology to their rather simplistic society. They abused this technology, and the division between the clans grew as Cronus and Typhon sought to cement their legacy. Cronus learned of his affinity for draconic magic, time manipulation, and used it to see into the future. This ability made him paranoid, and led him to turn on his fellow Titans, and children who he saw standing over him, burning everything he worked so hard to build. He imprisoned all those who opposed him in a stasis bubble, frozen in time except for Lady Alea, who escaped with his wife, Rhea, who was pregnant with Zeus at the time. Once the dust had settled and war took place, and the Olympians were made the victor, the Titans that remained assimilated and were treated as second-class citizens apart from the select few. The children of these surviving Titans will work in service to the Godlings, atoning for their sins of their parents despite sharing the same genealogy in some cases. As far as like their background in the compendium goes, I read a short piece about Celeste, so that she's more of the main character. Artemis is like a secondary main character despite having some chapters dedicated to her. Celeste is a former apprentice of Artemis and one of the Blood of Fruit's ex-acolytes. Celeste is now a semi-second-class Minotaur and the captain of the Luna. Being the youngest of Hyperion and Thea's children, she often found herself in competition for attention with her older siblings, Helios and Eos. She left Elea during her teen years, having gone through a traumatic ordeal. She refuses to return under any circumstances, but she keeps in contact with her brother Helios every so often. She takes on contracts with Javi, her co-pilot and cartographer across space. Outside of her siblings, Javi is the only one entrusted with her bloody secrets. Even Artemis, for all the time they spent together, never knew or chose to ignore the fact that she was obviously blooded and didn't try to hide it when they were on missions together. Getting into Artemis's backstory is a little more in-depth. The one god who spent the most time interacting with Elea and the other races outside their system, Artemis referred to herself not only as the best huntress, but a true star child. Zeus had a particular soft spot for her and thus allowed her to come and go as she pleased as long as she took one of her siblings with her, i.e. Apollo. She never concerned herself with Olympian affairs and often went out her way to help others whenever she could. She recruited many followers off-world to accompany her on her adventures into the wilds. Her best friend and closest thing to a sister her age was Corey. She kept her grounded whenever she was home. Her younger apprentice Celeste often reminded her of herself when she was still a fledgling godling. Callista, one of her first hunting companions. The two have a history only few are privy to. Aside from them, there was one of her party who had her quite enraptured. Orion, a Jotun, one of Aegir's sons, found himself enamored with her as well. The pair was set to marry, forming a union that would invite the Jotun into the Empire, but also ease tensions between the Jotun and the Aesir clans. However, unfortunately, tragedy struck and many witnessed the death of Orion by Artemis's hands. She protested that she must have been cursed, bewitched by a Celestian user, but none came forward and no evidence to support the claim. She would never hurt someone she cared for so dearly, let alone kill them. She learns that several whom she assumed to be the spellcaster, but to no avail. The Jotun vowed vengeance, and Zeus grew furious with the huntress. The two brought it out, resulting in her walking into a field at the bottom of the mountain, bloodied, battered, and beaten, with a voice telling her to find Corey. And essentially, that's the beginning of where her journey begins in terms of like the novel I'm writing. It's not finished yet, but give it some time, a year or two, at least for like a first draft, because this is going to be dense. main reason I did this piece was because I missed drawing these two together and not having to wait for like when I reintroduced them together in the story and how they reunited. Essentially, a look into how things used to be before everything went to chaos and everybody was separated into their own paths. A look back into simpler times, if you will. Also, I wanted to redo my channel intro, and I'm thinking that the illustration that comes out of this will play at the beginning, just like a quick few seconds, just to act as like a title card, if you will. I also wanted to play around with backgrounds, more simplified, not too detailed, just to see where I can go with it in the future, because I'm more privy to like rendering characters as opposed to like extravagant or highly detailed environments. That's something most artists I think can agree with, at least in this day and age. That's looking to be a wrap on this one. Added in the final touches, adjustment layers, all that good stuff. Let me know down below what more you would like to see from me as far as like character wise, or I could even link the compendium if you would like. So yeah, again, thanks for watching, stay rotten, and I'll see you in the next one.